You know, every year about this time I get the same question from folks, and it goes something like this. How much does a greenhouse cost? And I know what they've been looking at. They've been on the internet looking at them pretty glass houses with the automatic vents and the little brass fittings, and they seen a price tag with 4 numbers on it. And they closed the laptop and said, well, that ain't for me. And I don't blame them one bit. But here's the thing that ought to stop you in your tracks. The greenhouse standing out behind my barn right now, the one that's been feeding my family fresh greens into December for 6 years running, cost me right around $200. $200, not $2,000. And it ain't fancy, it ain't pretty, it don't have a single brass fitting on it anywhere. But every single January, when my neighbor's paying $4 for a little plastic clamshell of sad lettuce at the grocery store, I'm walking out there in my coat with a bowl and cutting spinach out of the dirt. And that spinach is sweeter in December than anything I grow in June. And I'm going to tell you why here in a bit. So today I'm going to walk you through the whole thing. I'm going to tell you exactly what I bought and what it cost me, exactly how I put it together in a weekend with a drill and a handsaw, and then, and this is the part most folks skip right over, exactly what to plant in it and when to plant it. 'Cause a greenhouse full of the wrong crops in October ain't nothing but an expensive tent. We'll count down the 7 best crops for it, 10-1, best for last. So grab your coffee and stick with me, 'cause the number 1 crop on this list is the one that changed how I think about winter altogether. Now, before we pick up a single tool, we got to get one thing straight in our heads. 'Cause this is where most folks go wrong with a winter greenhouse. And here it is. A greenhouse like this one don't make heat. It ain't a heater. On a cold, clear night in December, the air in that greenhouse is going to get about as cold as the air outside, give or take a few degrees. Now, if you was expecting to grow tomatoes in there in January, I just broke your heart. And I'm sorry, but I'd rather break it now than let you spend $200 finding out the hard way. What a greenhouse like this actually does is 3 things, and all 3 of them are worth more than heat. First thing, it stops the wind. And I want you to hear me on this, because folks don't respect the wind near enough. It ain't usually the cold that kills your winter greens. It's the cold wind pulling the moisture right out of the leaves while the ground's froze and the plant can't drink. Put a wall of plastic between that wind and your plants and you've won half the battle right there. Second thing it does is it holds the daytime sun. Even in December, when the sun comes out on a clear day, that greenhouse will climb up into the 60s, 70s, sometimes warmer, while it's 40 degrees outside. And them plants get a few hours of good growing every day they wouldn't otherwise get. Third thing, and this is the big one, it keeps the frost off the leaves. Frost settling direct on a leaf is what turns it to mush. Under plastic, that don't happen. So what you're really building ain't a hothouse, it's a shelter. You're moving your garden about 2 growing zones south without moving an inch. And you're stretching your season by 2-3 months on both ends. That's the honest promise, and it's plenty. All right, now let's talk money, 'cause I promised you a number and I aim to keep my word. What I built is what folks call a hoop house, 10 foot wide, 20 foot long, high enough in the middle for me to stand up straight, and I'm 6 foot even. Here's the whole shopping list. First, the hoops. I used 1/2-inch PVC pipe, the 20-foot lengths, 10 of them, 1 hoop every 2 foot down the run. That ran me right around $40. Now, if you want a stouter house and you got a pipe bender or a friend with one, 1/2-inch metal conduit is the upgrade, and it'll cost you a bit more, but it'll laugh at snow. Cattle panels work a treat too if you got a couple laying around, and a lot of us farm folks do. Second, the stakes. This is what holds the whole thing to the earth, and it's the cheapest part and the most important part. 20 pieces of 1/2-inch rebar, 2 foot long apiece, drove down into the ground 1.5 feet, 2 at each hoop location. That was about $25. Your PVC hoop slides right down over that rebar, and that's your anchor. Don't you skimp here. I've seen a light-built hoop house go tumbling across a pasture like a tumbleweed, and it's a real educational thing to watch happen to somebody else. Third, the lumber. 2x4s for a base frame all the way around the bottom, and a few more for the two end walls and a door frame. Call it $50, and less if you got a scrap pile like mine. Fourth, and this is the biggest single cost, the plastic. You want 6 mil greenhouse plastic, 20 foot by 25 foot, and that'll run you $60, $70 depending where you get it. And now I want you to listen close on this next part, because it's the one place I'll tell you flat out not to save money. Do not, and I mean do not, use the clear plastic sheeting from the paint aisle at the hardware store. I know it's cheaper. I know it looks the same standing there in the store, but that stuff ain't got any UV protection in it, and the sun will turn it yellow and brittle, and it'll come apart in your hands in a single season. Real greenhouse plastic is UV treated, and it'll go 4, 5, 6 years. Ask me how I know. My first house was hardware store plastic, and by March it looked like a shredded flag. You spend that extra $20, you buy yourself 4 extra years. And last, the odds and ends. Furring strips to sandwich the plastic down, a box of screws, a bag of good UV-rated zip ties, and a hinge and latch for the door. $20, maybe $25. Add it all up and you're at right about $195, $200, and you've got a shelter with 200 square foot of growing space in it. Now do the arithmetic with me. 200 square foot of good winter greens, cut over and over from October clear into spring. $10 a week worth of greens is a low estimate, and that pays the whole thing off in 20 weeks. One season. After that, it's free food, every year, forever. That's why this thing pays for itself and then some. Now here's how you build it, and I promise you it's simpler than you think. You start by picking your spot, and pick it careful, because a greenhouse ain't easy to move once it's up. You want the most winter sun you can find, and remember the winter sun rides low and lazy across the southern sky, so watch out for the shadow of your barn or your house or a big cedar. Run the long side of the house east to west, so that long south-facing wall soaks up everything the sun's got. And put it close enough to the house that you'll actually walk out there in your slippers in February, because a greenhouse 100 yards away in the cold gets visited about half as often as one right off the back porch. That's just human nature, and there ain't no fighting it. Then you build your base frame. 2x4s laid out in a rectangle right on the ground, 10 by 20. Square it up by measuring corner to corner both ways till the numbers match. Screw the corners together. That frame is your foundation and your anchor point all in one. Next you drive your rebar, 2 foot apiece, one on each side of the frame every 2 foot down the run. Drove down till there's about 6 inches sticking up above the wood. Sledgehammer, little sweat, half an hour's work. Then comes the fun part, and this is the part that'll make you feel like you know what you're doing. You take a 20-foot length of PVC, slide one end down over the rebar on the left side, then walk it over and bend it and slide the other end down over the rebar on the right side. And just like that, you've got a hoop standing there. Do that 10 times and you're looking at the bones of a greenhouse. Screw a little metal strap over each hoop where it meets the base frame so it can't lift out. Then run one length of pipe straight down the middle at the top, lashed to every hoop with zip ties. That's your ridge pole, and it's what keeps the whole works from folding over like a deck of cards. Don't skip the ridge. Frame up your 2 end walls out of them 2x4s and put a real door in one end, hinged, that latches. And on that other end, cut yourself an opening and cover it with a piece of window screen or hardware cloth. That's your vent, and I'll tell you here in a minute why it matters more than you'd guess. Then you pick a calm day. And I mean calm. And you pull the plastic over the top. Get a helper if you can. 2 people in a stepladder makes this a 20-minute job, and 1 person on a breezy day makes it an afternoon of hollering and cussing. Pull it snug like a drum head, then sandwich it down along the base frame with them furring strips screwed right through, plastic in between. That sandwich is what holds it. Staples alone will tear out, but wood on wood with the plastic squeezed between will hold through a gale. Now here's a trick worth the whole video. Before you lay the plastic over them PVC hoops, wrap each hoop with a strip of old cloth tape or a bit of pipe insulation, or paint them white. Bare PVC gets hot in the sun and it'll scorch a line right through your plastic where they touch. Cost you a couple dollars in an hour, saves you $60 of plastic. And once it's all up, put a good thick layer of straw or wood chips down your walkway inside. Keeps the mud down and gives you a bit of warmth off the ground besides. That's it. That's the whole build. One good weekend. All right, now the greenhouse is standing, and this is where folks get excited and start planting the wrong things at the wrong time. So let's count down the 7 crops that'll actually carry you to December and past it, and I'll tell you when to get them in the ground. And that timing is everything, because here's the rule to write on your hand. Your winter crops gotta get big before the days get short. Once you're down under about 10 hours of daylight, plants pretty near quit growing. And just sit there holding steady, waiting. So you ain't growing them in the winter so much as you're growing them in the fall and harvesting them all winter. Most folks plant a month too late and wonder why they got nothing but bare dirt come Christmas. Coming in at number 7, radishes. Now I put these first because they're the fastest win you'll ever get, and they'll build your confidence. 25, 30 days from seed to something on your plate. You can sow a row of radishes in that greenhouse in early October and be pulling them by Halloween. And in the cool weather, they come up crisp and mild instead of hot and woody like a summer radish does. Sow a short row every 2 weeks while you can, and don't forget the leaves are good eating too, cooked down like any green. At number 6, scallions and bunching onions. These things are about as tough as any plant I know. They don't mind cold, they don't mind being cut, and they come right back at you. Plant a thick block of them in the fall, and you'll cut green onions out of that greenhouse all winter long, and half of them will still be standing there in spring asking for more. A winter soup without a green onion on top ain't finished, and this is how you have one in January. Number 5, turnips and their tops. Now here's 2 crops off 1 seed, and I'm always partial to that. Sow them in September and you'll get tender young turnips you can eat raw like an apple, plus all the greens you can cut off the top. And here's the beauty of it. That turnip will sit in that greenhouse soil like it's in a root cellar, and you go out and pull them fresh as you need them all through December. Fresh out of the ground beats stored every time. Number 4, Swiss chard. Chard is the steady workhorse of the winter house. It ain't the sweetest thing in there, and it ain't the fastest, but you plant it in late summer, and it will just keep standing and keep giving. You cut the outside stalks, always the outside, and leave that center crown be, and it pushes new leaves right back out. 1 good row of chard planted in August will feed you off and on for 6, 7 months. It's the crop that don't quit. Number 3, lettuce. And I mean the right lettuce. Now your summer lettuces will rot and flop on you in a cold, damp house, so this is where variety matters more than anything. You want the cold, hardy winter types, your romaines, your butterheads, the old winter varieties folks have been growing under glass for 200 years. Plant a mix of them in September, and here's the trick. Harvest them as cut and come again. Don't pull the whole head. Cut the outer leaves at 1 inch above the crown, and it'll grow you another round. 1 planting, 3 or 4 cuttings. Number 2, kale and its whole tough family. Kale, collards, mustards, arugula, all them cabbage cousins. These plants don't just survive the cold, they get better in it. And that's not a figure of speech. When a kale plant gets hit with a real cold snap, it pumps sugar into its own leaves to keep from freezing, same as antifreeze in your radiator. So a kale leaf picked in December after 3 good frosts is genuinely sweeter than the same leaf picked in September. Get it in the ground by late August, and it'll stand up in that greenhouse like a little tree all winter. And you'll cut off it every week, and it'll keep on coming. And now, number 1, the king of the winter greenhouse, the crop that made me a believer: spinach. Folks, if you plant one thing in that $200 house, plant spinach. Sow it in September, get it up to about hand size before the days get short, and that spinach will sit in there all winter long and take temperatures that'd kill about anything else in the garden. And just like the kale, the cold sweetens it up till it don't hardly taste like store spinach at all. It's thick and dark and sweet, and it near about crunches. But here's the real magic of spinach, and it's why it's my number 1. Come February, when the days start stretching back out, that spinach that's been sitting there patient all winter wakes up and takes off like a shot. Weeks and weeks before you could plant a thing outside. So spinach don't just carry you to December, it carries you through and out the other side. Fall crop, winter crop, and the earliest spring crop you'll ever eat, all off one September planting. That's the whole season in one seed packet. Now a few last habits, and these are what separate a greenhouse that feeds you from one that sits there full of dead plants. First one, and this is the big one folks never believe: you gotta vent it. Even in November. On a sunny day, that house will cook up to 90, 100 degrees while it's 45 outside. And heat like that will bolt your lettuce and cook your spinach dead. So you crack that door on sunny days, and you shut it up in the evening. It's a 2-minute walk out there, and it's the single most important thing you'll do. Second, water less than you think. Cold soil and slow-growing plants don't drink much, and a sopping wet greenhouse in December is how you get mold and rot. Water in the morning so the leaves dry off before dark. Water the ground and not the leaves, and when in doubt, wait a day. Third, throw a light row cover blanket right over your beds inside the greenhouse on the coldest nights. That's what folks call double covering, and it's worth another 5-10 degrees of protection for about $15. Plastic outside, cloth inside, and there's near nothing a hard freeze can do to you. And fourth, harvest in the afternoon when things have thawed and perked up, not first thing in the morning when the leaves are stiff and froze. A frozen leaf handled rough turns to mush in the bowl. Wait till 1 o'clock, and it'll be crisp as anything. So there it is, $200, one weekend with a drill and a sledgehammer, and a shelter that pays for itself in a single season and then keeps feeding your family every winter after that. 10 hoops, a rectangle of 2x4s, a sheet of good plastic, and a fall planting of spinach and kale. That ain't a garden project, friends. That's real food security. And it's about the best $200 I ever spent on this place. If you're starting fresh, and it feels like a lot, don't overthink it. Build the smallest one you can stand up in. Plant spinach and kale and a row of radishes, and let that be your whole first year. Get that down, and next fall, you add the chard and the lettuce and the turnips. Build it up a little at a time, same as everything else worth having. If this was helpful to you, do me a big favor and smack that like button. It truly helps this little channel grow. And if you ain't subscribed yet, come on and join us. I put out honest, down-to-earth homestead and gardening advice every single week, straight from the farm. And I want to know down in the comments, have you built a greenhouse yet? And if you have, what's the one crop you'd never winter without? I read every one. Now get on out there and build something that feeds you. Take care, y'all.